Okay, maybe it's chips. I'm hungry now. Oh, okay. Hello everyone, welcome back to the conversation, in conversation with me, Stephen Holloran. Look who's here.
Hello, Iain Ferguson. Sorry. I thought I'd introduce myself then.
Feel free to introduce yourself.
Forget all that sort of.
These are your voters. These are the ones who are going to be telling you that they want to vote for you. So how are you today?
I'm not bad at all. Not bad at all. Lovely sunny day. It's,
I know.
Feels like, summer's almost here, doesn't it? So
Well, springtime,
it's
and
gorgeous, isn't it?
it's sodding shame that we couldn't go out there and be in the sunshine.
We've still got the wind, haven't we? But,
the wind just pushes the camera over. It's just not fun for us. So cheers. Thanks for coming and spending today with me. So are you comfortable today? You raring to go?
I am comfortable. I've been in the castle many times, but I've never been up here before, so it's...
But
they've let us in.
I thought it'd be nice to sit here instead.
It's
nice, isn't it?
It's the old courthouse, isn't it? So,
yeah, it's a really good place. So tell the viewers, just elaborate briefly who you are and what you're doing here.
Right, well, I'm Iain. I got involved in green politics, so, the last few months. I stood in the by-election before Christmas in November, and I've got a bit of a bug for it because ultimately I like where I live. I want to make it better,
and you represent Castle Ward, right?
Halton Castle.
Halton Castle.
So that's Halton Village,
yeah,
the Brow, and Castlefield.
Yes.
As the area.
Yes.
So there's probably around 5,000 people in the area. And,
no mean feat, is it?
No, 3,000 houses, and I've delivered to every single one of them.
I know, and I tried to help you last time for the top to clear off.
I think my legs are still aching, but...
Yes, and because I'm doing another interview next week with Rich.
Oh, yeah.
From the Sandymore, Daresbury, and...
I was out helping him last week, and at least it's flat there.
Yes, and it's lovely. I mean, I helped you last time, that's how we met.
Yeah, absolutely.
And literally, every door I went to, clear off.
I don't get any of that. Maybe it's just you.
It's just me. I look a bit rough, don't I?
He's smarting you up, maybe.
Yeah, give me a bit of spit and polish. So what is it that brought you into politics or being a councillor in general?
Right, it's almost like the trigger for me was probably around about a year ago now. I was just driving to work, driving down Main Street, and I see this young mum pushing a pram, I don't know, maybe a year old maybe, having to come out into the middle of the road to get past a car that totally blocked the pavement. I thought, and suddenly you start seeing these things, you think that's not right, that's not fair, and I started speaking to my current councillor then, and didn't really get anywhere. And the frustration starts to build, and I think, well, I want to do something here. And then, that sort of wanting to do something grew over, really sort of grew, and I joined the Green Party early on last year, and then there was an opportunity to stand in my home ward.
Perfect, because you don't live that far from the castle, yeah, really.
Just into Main Street.
You could throw a brick and it'd land.
I'm
not going to throw a brick. We do not encourage violence on this channel. But the thing is, it takes a certain sort of person to run for politics or run for a candidate of any kind, doesn't it? Because you need to sort of have that veneer about you that sort of connects to multiple people, and it's hard to do that.
It is, and it's not something I look to do, to be honest. I'm speaking to one of the guys in the Green Party locally, and we just talked about this upcoming election, and it was, do you want to stand? Absolutely not. Can't think of anything worse. and the conversation, kept badgering me if I'm going to be blunt. And I thought, well, let's give it a go. Yeah. And I think since giving it a go, I really want to do it.
And how's it been for you? How has it been different than what you expected?
Well, I think at the last election, it was all very, very, very quick. It was like, let's do this. I had no idea what I was doing. I was, it was to some extent people pointing me in this direction, do this, do that. I thought, okay, I've no experience here. But I think since then, into the new year, I put my latest newsletter out, and I've had a lot of conversations that's triggered, and ultimately, I've been able to help people. I think you see a lot of issues with people struggling to get help or work done with housing associations, particularly because we've got this sort of, whose responsibility is it? Is it the council? Is it the housing association? Is it a different housing association? And it's a real sort of difficult way to negotiate and
It's
navigate through that. It really is, and so I've helped 2 or 3 people. These are people in the 90s who just what do I do? They're not answering me. They're not doing this, and I don't know how to get through the website.
Well, being a councillor is pretty unique in you've got that authority like an MP would be, but you've got the flexibility to sort of be yourself.
Well, yeah, and I think that, I wouldn't say that's what attracted me to the Green Party, but that's something that very much attracts me to being a councillor for the Green Party. Yeah. In that, we have policies, and I believe in those policies, but ultimately I'm not told what to believe in. I'm not told how to vote if I get elected, of course. It's very much me as the individual, what I believe in, what I want to focus on. Yeah. And ultimately, things I want to focus on. Ultimately, it comes from this, I want to live in a better place. Yeah. Which means I want people to have decent homes. Yeah. Some of the housing in this ward is shocking, really dreadful.
Can you give an example without being like sort of specific?
No, well, yeah. I mean, you look at some of the older concrete blocks. Yeah. And they really have reached the end of their life. Yeah. And I think what really gets gets to me is when you see it raining and you see the whole side of these buildings soaked with water. You just know that's some of that's going through. Leaks in the roof, and it's just not.
The other week, storm blew off the whole roof, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen on Broughton, that's one of the 3 big blocks we've got in Castlefields, and these people's homes, they deserve something, safe and secure to live in, and we're all being hit by this cost of living crisis. That's only going to get worse.
That's a topic I'm going to get to in a minute.
Well, absolutely. But what's the best way of protecting yourself then? Is to use less energy. And you can only use less energy if you've got a well-built, well-insulated home. Yeah. And we've got so many homes locally that just don't even come close to that.
Do you think that it was a big mistake for council houses to become trusts and authorities in their own little pockets?
I think in itself, not necessarily. But the way it works now, and whether that's by design or not, I'm not quite sure. Is it's not really clear who do I call to fix this?
By design, probably.
You can be cynical like that, and there's certainly times when I've thought that, certainly, because and particularly when you're looking at the surroundings of houses, who owns that path, who owns that hedge, and it's nobody's. So no one will do anything, and it's.
Well, they've been chopping down hedges in Castlefields, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, and I'm aware of the arguments that there's concerns about antisocial behaviour. Some of those estates are, you really do need to know your way around.
Yes, it's amazing at times.
It is, and but if you're going to do that sort of thing, you've got to talk to the people who live there.
Yeah,
and a lot of the people that live there
are
absolutely horrified. Yeah. What greenery they've got is just gone, and it's not been done at all sensitively. It's just been hacked down. Yeah. And in reality, it looks, and certainly when I'm talking to people, it's been done to make it easy to maintain. Now, fair enough, but you've got to consult people. You've got to involve people.
Doesn't consultation take time? And they're just like, sod it, let's just.
I think perhaps that's the way it is.
Yeah. This is what's gravitated me towards the Greens, because I hate anything concerning with nature being chopped down or being removed or being tampered with, and there's been a lot of that going on in Runcorn recently, where they've said, this is just our maintenance, but there's been lots of trees that's gone.
Yeah, it seems like the very, very easy option. It's the easy, it's the cheap, it's the quick option, but it doesn't take into account both the nature itself and the value that gives, but what it does to people's environment. People like seeing green things. It makes you feel better. It makes it a more pleasant place to live. Now, I'll accept. We've got to make people safe in the homes as well. Absolutely, and make people feel safe. And certainly, when it gets dark, particularly when you look at the quality of the surfacing on some of those paths. Yeah, I understand. It does need to be better. But just a wholesale chop down everything inside.
But it's happening in Sandymore too, because I cycle to work every day, and the sheer amount of trees that are gone from just along paths that are well away, but they provided privacy for the homeowners.
Yeah, and it is that balance. I mean, you know, you look at a lot of these paths that, you know, are great for walking, for cycling, but they do need to feel safe. So you know, you do need to open them up a little bit. But it's brutal sometimes.
But these trees are off someone's back garden, and they're not affecting no one.
No, absolutely.
And then in the storm that happened recently, the ones that are remaining up blew down because there's nothing.
They support each other,
yeah,
certainly, and absolutely, and they protect the housing. They protect because you know you don't have to, you know, anywhere you look in Runcorn, you've seen bits of building flying off, you know, the last month or so, and certainly around here, and the more greenery, the more trees we have, it protects.
Which leads right into my next topic, which is protecting the environment, protecting the ecosystems, which is, I suppose, what the Green Party represents completely.
Yeah, I mean, I've sort of come into this route from a social justice point of view. You know, I want to live in a nice place. People looked after. It's fair. People have got the right opportunities. Part of that is having green spaces. Green spaces are so important. I mean, clearly, what's happening in Sandymuir, we're cutting these green spaces down. We're building on floodplains, and we're building unaffordable housing. Because, you know, I mean, I've spoken to, you know, a number of people about pavement parking, and ultimately, what's the cause of a lot of pavement parking is these multi-generations in one house. Adult children who can't afford to leave home because they can't go and afford the 400, 500, 600,000 pound house that's going to be built in Daresbury Garden Village.
God. I mean, because for the audience, I've gone through this myself recently where I've had to leave and I can't afford my house anymore because of private renting, and then suddenly you're up to £1,000 a month from private rent, and then the mortgage is going up because of people buying up everything. Suddenly.
Well, I mean, you look at the housing market in Runcorn, and it's so quick, particularly for the small houses, the affordable houses. You have to be in there immediately to get it, and it's been like that for several years now.
Yeah.
We used to live on the other side of Runcorn in Westfield, and you know it was a 3-bedroom ex-council house, and it sold the same day.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, you know, 4 or 5 people on the same day came to see it and go. And I thought that's a bizarre market. That just tells me that sort of standard family house just isn't there.
No.
We haven't got the right numbers, and the ones we are building are not affordable, and I don't think they've been built to the right standard. Even someone spending £500,000 on a house is not buying a good house, not buying an insulated, well-insulated house. They're buying a house that is built to the bare minimum standard, and that's really where we're failing as a council.
Yeah.
You know, many councils in this country do enforce higher quality building standards, which is, you know,
is that a Labour council problem, or is it across the board?
I can't say that's a Labour council problem. You know, there are many councils that don't enforce that. They're just enthralled to the developers. They think they've got no control, but they have.
Yes.
They absolutely can enforce higher standards, but they just choose not to. And you know, I think that is why I keep coming across it. This can't be bothered attitude. It's almost like the council have given up.
Yeah, because it's easier for them to submit to this.
I completely recognise that all councils across the country have had funds sucked out of them by the central government, and they're very easy to blame the local council for not doing this, not doing this. But some of the decisions are just really, really poor. Yeah. Some of the things within control of the council are just not taken. It's just like, well, what can we do?
They're not working together, are they? Even if it was a Labour council back in 97 to 2008, was it, when they went out? Or the current Conservative, they all seem to do the same thing, which is not think of infrastructure as a long-term investment, but they're doing stuff short-term. It's like and part of that is politics, isn't it? They're all focusing on the next election. You know, I'm seeing it focus on the next election as well. You know, I can't. We both are.
Absolutely. But yeah, you just look around this town, this country, and it's falling apart.
Yes, I mean, if you look across the Western world, though, not just UK, but even in America, the land of the dreams, everything's fallen apart because of lack of investment.
Well, I think it is this sort of drive to, you know, the private sector, the market drives progress, and it doesn't. It drives profit for certain people.
Yeah,
but there's
skims off the top, especially.
Well, absolutely. And you know, I'm not saying encouraging more people to drive, but the roads are shocking.
Yeah.
I would like to see better roads.
The Mersey Gateway, do you think it was a good investment?
I work in St Helens, so I've travelled the old bridge.
Yeah, when it was stuck.
I've queued for over an hour on many occasions. It's been closed on many occasions. You know, you end up driving through Warrington. So I think that investment was good. Was the right thing to do. Absolutely. And I'll say as a runcorn resident, £10 a year is not a major issue to me.
No.
Does it stop people coming to runcorn? I'm not sure I buy that either.
No.
You know, we've actually got a decent piece of infrastructure that's cost, I think, 600 million. So it's a huge investment.
Yeah.
And you know, I recognise these things need paying for. But what I'm frustrated about is we then get the upset when we spend £100,000 or £200,000 on a bit of safe cycling infrastructure.
Yeah.
And I just can't get my head around this. This is a tiny little fraction compared with this. And we get more people walking, we get more people cycling, and then the people that can't walk or can't cycle need to use their cars, get a better journey, because there's less people driving on the roads. And I think you can easily get into this sort of very polarised debate. You know, any investment in walking, or particularly cycling, which seems to be a real red rag to some people, comes back. What about the people who can't walk? Well, I travel 50 miles, I can't cycle. I get all that, some people do. Fine, let's make your life easier as well by taking.
But does people's choices lead to that, or does it have to be mandated?
I think you need to give people safe infrastructure to make those decisions. Give people a genuine option.
Yeah.
You know, just yesterday, I'm just sitting thinking, how much does a car cost every single day? 20, 25, 30 pounds every single day. And you think of it, because so many of us have got the car lease. We know what's happening with fuel, insurance. You know, it really does add up, and then you've got to look after the thing as well. £600-700 people are spending that every single month.
No.
And you know, that's what's driving the cost of living crisis as much as energy prices increasing.
Yeah. Because
people haven't got the option. You know, we're talking about the X1 bus.
Yes, that's just literally gone, isn't it? Is it gone?
I don't think it's gone. I mean, it's gone a few times and it's come back. I think at the moment it's still in existence.
I don't get the problem with it, because X1 is a viable route. You just keep tinkering with it.
Well, I think it's. I mean, certainly before COVID, I think it was really quite a busy route. But I think through COVID and still in COVID, aren't we? But I think that the timetable's been all over the place. People don't know it exists.
If you can't rely on a service, then people go, I'll just get the 79 now.
Well, does it still run? That sort of thing. You know, does it still run?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it does, but I'm not sure.
But
so I'm not going to stand at that bus stop and wait for it, am I?
Exactly.
And,
exactly. But we need better. Do you agree with the Liverpool City region and further integration into that?
From a transport point of view, absolutely. No, I do. I mean, certainly what I'm hearing, I think, you know, bringing bus services, you know, into public hands, an integrated Liverpool City region transport policy, absolutely.
I think it's inevitable anyway.
I think it is, and in reality, you see the same sort of things happening in Manchester, because I can get to Liverpool quite easy. I can't get to Manchester.
Oh, Manchester! I go there all the time for the acting stuff, and it's as soon as you cross the border into Manchester, and even into Yorkshire, it's a better service than up here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's terrible.
And so I think you've got to integrate the Liverpool City region transport, so you can get around easily, runcorn to Liverpool, in between.
Yeah.
And make it a viable option not to get your car out. Because if I go to Liverpool, I'll drive, particularly if I've got my kids with me, because I know the first time I took them on the train, it cost me an absolute fortune.
It's not just cost, it's the fact that you're standing sometimes in the cold on the train platform that's just been cancelled.
Yeah, and
like he's just like David over there. He gets
I think
trapped.
reliability is hugely important.
Yes.
But the cost of it is just
It's staggering. But
yeah.
you can tinker with tickets, because I do it all the time going to London.
Yeah.
You can tinker with it and get it down to 15 quid sometimes.
You can.
It's just.
But that takes work, doesn't it? And you've got to be invested into doing that. And
I just don't like spending money.
Well, that always helps. But it's about what I'm looking. I want to see. Whether it's walking, whether it's cycling, whether it's buses and trains, is make it a viable option.
Yeah, it has to be.
It has to be reliable.
Yeah.
It has to go where you want. It has to be affordable. It has to be a better option than taking a car. And it's not a case of forcing people out of the cars. It's giving people a better alternative.
Yeah.
Because driving's horrible. I hate driving.
I've never drove. I can't drive.
Well,
because I've always cycled to work.
Well, I've been driving since I was 18.
Sucker.
I used to love driving, and now I hate driving. Absolutely hate it.
Did you like it for the stereotypical? It's like a male thing where you sort of getting oil on your face and you're fixing the car.
I'm never able to fix the car, but yeah, I love.
You love that idea of wind in your hair, driving.
Yeah. I had. My mum had one of the old ladies, brilliant, flying that around, loved it. But as the roads get busier, get more congested, that dream is gone. You can watch a car advert and there are never any other cars on it.
Well, you've got no bloody open space to enjoy the view, have you? It's all houses.
Precisely. And I don't want it to come across that I'm not in favour of house building. Absolutely am.
Well, this is the next point we're going to make in a sec, but just to finish off the car point, because no, don't worry about it. I'll punch you later. The thing about fuel now, obviously what's happening in Ukraine and even before that with inflation, we've got a massive problem coming, and fuel dependency. Now, the Green Party, I know they're more for renewables, more for sustainability, which is exactly what I believe too. But there's the problem with immediate problems from the war. Would you be in favour of fracking just in the short term?
No, absolutely not.
Explain.
Fracking, clearly there is gas in the bedrock.
And there's benefits of it.
It's under our control, absolutely. But what we've done in this country, and it's why we're seeing very high prices, is we've sold off all our gas. We talk about we've got oil and gas. Yes and no. We've actually sold it off to private companies, and that's why we're paying market rate. Yeah. So you look at energy prices in France, for example, where the state controls EDF. Think of limited price prices to 4%. Yeah. Effectively, UK customers of EDF are subsidising French customers of EDF because of that, because we've lost control. And fracking is a private resource. There is actually no shortage of gas in the UK. The gas isn't going to run out. The price is going to go up, and releasing gas from fracking will just feed into that. I don't think it
would just add to the system rather than.
But in reality, there are two big concerns. One, it still releases carbon when you burn it, but the actual recovery of fracked gas does cause earthquakes. Minor, so far, but it does. And these earthquakes under people's houses.
The one thing I don't like is that we're moving backwards with that idea, as opposed to forwards.
It's an investment in fossil fuels. Yeah. And what I would like to certainly much more in favour is investment in two areas. One, more renewables, and certainly what the government are talking about is to make it easier. But I'm always nervous when I hear the government talking about relaxing planning restrictions.
I hate that when I hear that.
And is it under the guise of we need more renewables, but what else will come? That really worries me. But the other thing is, and it's the really cheap option, it's the quick option, is insulate houses.
Yeah, insulating, definitely.
And we could be starting to do that now.
I've heard that the biggest problem we've got is storage of energy.
So the gas storage, we used to have a very, very large...
And the wind turbines, they can generate a lot of power. Yes. But then we're not using it because it sort of can't be stored in the long term. So
you're right. You're certainly right. if you've got weather conditions where where the wind drops, which it does throughout the year, but particularly concerned when it does in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
Your level of electricity generated from wind does drop, absolutely. So you do need that mix. So you need wind, you need solar. I mean, solar even in the winter in this country still contributes.
Yeah, of course it does.
And I think that, one area that I don't think we particularly explored well, and I think we need to be careful about but I think does have potential is tidal.
I was going to bring that up. You ruined my question.
Sorry.
No, because I was going to ask that from that perspective, from a green perspective.
Yeah.
How does that sit with you? Because it's still interfering with nature.
Well, I think if you look at it in isolation, capturing tidal energy, I'm entirely comfortable with.
Okay.
But what it can do, if you're not very, very careful, is you can very, very easily interfere with a lot of breeding grounds for birds, for sea life as well. And without the right controls, that could be something I'd be completely against.
Yeah.
But in principle, I'm absolutely in favour of tidal power.
Yeah, because again, it's clean.
Absolutely. But with every these things, it's about doing it right.
Yeah.
Do I want to see a windmill on top of Holton Castle? Of course not. It's windy.
That's an image.
But do you know what I mean? You've got to put these things in the right place.
Yeah.
But and you've got to do them correctly, which is why I'm a little bit very nervous about this relaxation of planning policy. They could go anywhere, and they probably will.
Well, usually when these sorts of things happen in a crisis, it's done. Oh, we can get this out of the way now, so we can do what we want.
There was always a group of people making a lot of money out of crisis.
Yeah.
And I've no doubt there's people now making lots of money out of Ukraine.
Yeah.
And it's the way, unfortunately, of the world. I know it happens. Put your finger on it, trying to understand it, trying to stop it is incredibly difficult, but I know it's happening.
Are you optimistic that, going national a minute, the Ukraine situation will ease, or is this just going to be relentless?
I'm not sure what's going to happen in Ukraine.
And that's the terrifying.
I just don't. I can't offer an answer. I mean, clearly the initial. We're just going to walk in and put new government in place within a week hasn't worked.
No.
I'm not saying the downside. Be careful with my words there. But that means a lot more people are dying already and will carry on dying.
It's hard to bear, isn't it, when you see it and you're like, what can we do?
Well, I took my son there for his 21st birthday because he wants to go to Ukraine. So when I'm watching the TV, I'm seeing places I've been to just over 2 years ago, and it's like it really just bring it home to you. I've stood where that journalist is standing.
So that connection.
Yeah, and reality, to be honest, look, half of Liverpool have been there for the European Cup final a year or two ago as well, and it's we know this place.
Well, we're hoping that it resolves itself soon.
Yeah, absolutely, and I can't offer an easy solution. I'm sure we all wish we could.
I mean, this is the thing. So I'm going to lead into now the big issue locally for us, which is what you're probably. I know the Green Party with Richard is going to be doing this campaign for the opposition, but with what's going on with Ukraine, with Hong Kong, the immigration status, we're building houses left, right, and centre. Not appropriate houses either.
No, and I think that's the important.
Where do we stand on it?
I think people know this building's going to happen.
Yeah.
You can see it start.
Well, you can see it on Daresbury, and it's heartbreaking.
It is, and you just see a field full of mud at the moment, and
diggers as well.
Yeah, that makes it very hard to keep going because on the one hand, it's very easy to think we've lost this one, and that particular development, I think we have lost this one.
Well, nothing we can do about Daresbury for the Red Row, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah. But there's another development. There's another one. There's
just everywhere.
And particularly, I'm focusing on the whole castle area. There's the old school site next to.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. So, where do you stand about that? Because I know it's affordable, isn't it? I'd say about 15%.
I'm not entirely sure yet, because I think the council are putting it out to tender, and it's going to be a council developer joint project, and I think that's this month and next month. That's out
right.
to
So in time for the election, which is handy.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, there's also some question: is it brownfield or is it greenfield? It being the old school site, it's become greenfield. In reality, it's becoming
yes.
It's a really, really important green space.
When you said that, I went and had a look, and yeah, you're right.
You can see the flat concrete. Absolutely.
But when you start clearing the site for a wider development, it's destroying what the nature's replenished.
Nature's taking that site back.
Yeah.
And you know, you've got Norton Priory there, which.
It's right next to Norton Priory, isn't it?
It's good.
The
Absolutely.
development right on the doorstep.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, that's 10 minutes walk through Phoenix Park. It's lovely. You know,
right next to the lake as well.
Well, absolutely, just the other side of the lake, of course, and the canal, which is it's really lovely. You know, since they resurfaced the Bridgewater Canal, it's a really pleasant place.
You used to have trees blocking the view from. Right? This sounds like NIMBY stuff.
Yeah, and I think you know you've got to be careful, because I mean in reality, there is a real housing crisis here. You know, we do need to build more housing, higher quality, affordable, the right size for people in the 20s that are stuck at home.
Yeah.
And
well, leaving me now.
Are you not in 20? I thought you were in the 20s still.
No, I'm joking. I won't stop it. But the thing is, look, I've been there. When I first left home, I wanted a council house, couldn't get one. Went to private rent all this time, couldn't afford to buy, crash happened. And now I'm in the situation where I can only afford a certain amount, but the prices are going up too high, too fast to meet demand. So I could be stuck in house share forever with it.
Terrifying thought.
It's terrifying. Sometimes I hear screams in the night.
But yeah, I mean, you look at the estate down by the lake, and it's quite nice. You know,
it's been done well.
It has absolutely.
And you get used to it.
And certainly, you know, the houses, the ones overlooking the front, they're brilliant.
If you're watching, lucky.
Yeah. If you want to sell, we want to move down. But
sell for under 100 though.
I think you'd be not a bit optimistic there. But you know, but that estate has encroached into the park.
Yeah.
And I think the park has become more lively. It's been more used, and I think the reopening of the cafe has really helped. There's life down there now.
Yeah.
But the last thing we want to do is, is the next estate going to go?
So are you sorry to interrupt, but are you against building in that plot for anything, or would you allow some sort of development to go ahead there?
I mean, as with all these things, it was decided 10, 20 years ago. It's in the local plan, and there's going to be houses there. My understanding is going to be more affordable. It's a bit hazy about what that means at this stage. I've got no problems with that. But what really concerns me is, I think all the green space will grow.
Yeah.
I think it'll be built right up to Norton Priory, which impacts on one of the really historically important parts of this town.
Yeah.
And we're just throwing away that valuable place.
Yeah, we should develop it. I mean, in other parts of the country, even in abroad, they look at a site and go, right, the radius of this site, we need to protect it, preserve it, and then also enhance it. So
Absolutely.
have things in that area that go with it, not against it.
Well, yeah, and part of that is local, local facilities as well. I mean,
got sod all here in Runcorn, haven't we?
Well, where's your local shop in Castlefields, apart from the centre of Castlefields? And it gets spread wider and wider. That starts to get quite a long way away. And
well, look at Richard's patch. Sandymore's only just got a shop.
Yeah, the co-op there.
It's literally just.
I know, it's what, 3 months ago it opened, didn't it?
And it's too late, they need more now.
I'm saying that estate is really quite big already, and
It's on its own right, isn't it?
Well, it is. It absolutely is, and what percentage is going to increase over the next few years with all the they're building on these the fringes of Stockton Heath, I think is being
yes,
termed.
it's just getting connected, and it's such a crying shame.
Well, absolutely. One of the things I like about Runcorn is 10 minutes away, green fields, peace, quiet. It's very, very green.
You can have that in Town Park.
Absolutely.
But that's managed. To me, Town Park and all these little parks don't count because it's not the same as walking out into...
It's not wild, certainly, but
nature.
I think they're still very, very important.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't count in the sense that it's not... It's like you say, it's managed. So it's not like you can go off into Sandymore and end up somewhere where it's a bit wild and you can see there's no one around. Because there used to be a spot I used to sit at and just sit there, knowing that no one was going to walk up and see me.
Switch off in a place like
that.
Yeah,
you have to sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Here, in Town Park, you know that you're not going to be that far away from a house.
No, that's true.
So it's not the same thing.
It's not, but
it's better than nothing. But
no, it is. I walked through Town Park down to Phoenix Park today, and it was lovely.
Well,
particularly the sunshine. It was fabulous, and you can see the houses. I can see the park from my house. It's great. I love it.
Just don't rub it in.
Sorry, but I do really appreciate that. But it's not wild. I agree. I mean, there are parts of it that are much less managed, but I think it's a fabulous resource. That is it's surrounded by Holland Village and Castlefields, and on the other side, Norton and Palacefields. It is a great resource for people, and that's really important to protect it. I mean,
especially for like say, if you need these pockets of parks and trees and stuff for nature, for the environment to recoup.
Well, yeah, I mean, the council have just approved the new local plan, and one of the things that really worries me is, even though it's only quite a small plot, it's this green space next to the Methodist Church down the bottom.
Oh yeah, in the middle.
Yeah, that's now earmarked for potential housing.
You're joking.
Just the infill, but the part behind it is left as a green space. But that's earmarked for potential.
So I don't know if you know this, but between the church, the grey one, and the shop, and
I mean you've got a row of 5 or 6 terraces.
Yeah, but next to
that green space.
Oh, you're joking.
And it's like,
why?
You're going to get. I mean, you're not even going to get many houses there. But why are you going to do it? I mean, it's just a little bit of open space in the centre of the village.
Well, I've seen a map once. I've seen a map once where they've sort of put little lines everywhere, like little red dots, and they've gone, right, here could be developed, here could be developed. Yeah. And it's scary how much you actually want to develop in Runcorn, and it's just got to go everywhere.
Yeah,
it's going to be a house.
And I think, when you've got maybe some low value, vacant, derelict land, absolutely, infill. Build places there, but stop this spread. Stop this building on our green space.
Well, this is what
because you don't have to do it.
Me and Mike Ainsbury did an interview, and we talked about this because we said the same thing. We're not against housing per se, just not just affordable housing, but appropriate housing.
Yeah.
And then one of the questions I put on the group was, would you have a problem with this development in Sandymore or here if it was social housing? Wouldn't that now change the dynamic a little bit? Because Halton needs social housing.
I think it changes it. I still think Sandymore's the wrong place.
Yes.
Because it is a floodplain.
Yeah, well, that's just logical.
And whether it's social houses or it's £600,000 houses, it's still a floodplain. Yeah. And the more concrete you put on there, the more tarmac you put down, the more likely you're going to have flooding. Yeah. And I don't care whether it's someone in a social house or someone who's spent £500,000 on, you don't want them to be flooded.
No, exactly.
But you're absolutely right. In this town, there is a real shortage of good quality social housing, good quality affordable housing. It does exist.
It's a dying breed in Halton. There's not very many left, and what is left is lived in. It sort of goes from generation to generation.
A lot of it is passed on.
So what's coming up, and you've got people coming into the borough who need social housing, or they're buying into the borough without the amenities, without the shops and infrastructure.
I think that is a real concern.
As a Green Party,
well,
what do you believe about that? I mean,
well, infrastructure and whether that's local schools and doctors and shops need to be within walkable distance. Yeah. Make the place livable, because otherwise you are forcing people to go and spend this £25 every single day on this car that they can't afford.
Yeah.
And that is a huge chunk of cash. That's nearly your rent.
Or do you believe that Runcorn or Halton in general is becoming a commuter belt town where people just live in to go out and work?
I think there's certainly an element of that. I mean, we've got great motorway connections.
Yeah.
We're close to Manchester, we're close to Liverpool. You can easily commute to those two areas. In general, I mean, although we're saying it's not affordable, it is more affordable than many areas.
Yeah, the closer you get to either way, from Chester to Manchester, you get more expensive.
But
right.
But clearly there will be an element of people, and I imagine within Sandymore there's probably a higher element of people working elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely, because there's a ghost. When you walk into Sandymore, you always feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, even though you're surrounded. Because there's not many people socialising. It seems to me like a closed.
Well, I was supporting Rich last week, and delivering some of his leaflets on, and it was a Sunday afternoon. You expect it to be quite busy, and it was.
It's eerie, isn't it?
It was very, very quiet, and it was quite a nice day. So maybe everyone was out.
Everyone
out
drove
somewhere.
off.
maybe, but.
Hey, Dave, have you got any money for another bevy? Go and get one for me.
It's £4 a pint, you know.
What, for Foster's?
I'm only minding about it. I'll get something. Got a fidget climb here.
Yeah.
I'm fine, thanks.
See, he's good, isn't he?
Yeah, just get well trained, haven't you, sir?
Yeah, he's my best mate, man. He is. So, talk to me about your green credentials. Were you ever a different party supporter, like Labour, or were you always a Green?
I was actually a member of the Green Party when I was 18 years old.
Oh, so you've always had that DNA then?
I was only a member for 1 year. I didn't renew after that first year. But through my working life, I've spent probably 10 years as an environment manager for a large manufacturer in North Wales.
Brilliant.
And when I took over that job, the business was the worst polluting manufacturing company in England and Wales.
Okay.
It had managed to close the drinking water extraction points in the River Dee multiple times through release of chemicals into the river. So I took on that role. I managed to successfully apply for environmental permits with both the local council and with the Environment Agency. And by the time I finished that role, we won a National Environment Award, sponsored by the Environment Agency. Yeah. I'm not going to sit in for 1 minute and pretend that site still doesn't have a huge environmental impact. It does. It's.
Sorry, yeah, you can go past.
I didn't even.
We can edit that.
So yeah, that's why that's I've always worked in manufacturing, but I ultimately they had a big problem, and they asked me to sort it out.
So you're the guy to go to. I mean, again, with the Green Party, it's always the perception I have, because I'm not really a political person per se. I always vote for whoever says what they're going to do and apply it to practicalities. So to me, the Green Party needed to practice what they preach a little bit. So your expertise really helps.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a reasonable understanding of the science behind global warming, water pollution, air pollution, and I know what manufacturing companies have to comply with. Yeah. And this grey area in the middle where they should comply but don't have to comply for various reasons.
Thanks, darling. Thank you.
So yeah, I've got that understanding. I've got that understanding of legislation. I've sat and read the pollution prevention regulations. And I've sort of understood them as well. I would not recommend you read them though. Absolutely not. But effectively, it is all about reducing that impact on various different receptors, whether that's air, whether that's water, whether that's the ground or groundwater, and also better resource use, which was really, really key to what I wanted to do.
So in your view, do you think Halton Borough Council, I'm sorry Halton Borough Council, but are they doing enough to protect Halton from silly development, really?
Well, the very, very short answer is absolutely not. I don't think they are. although I completely accept that they're under huge pressure financially, like every council.
Yeah, because they've had their budgets cut.
I see that, and you know, I think it's unfair, whether they're Labour or Liberal Democrat or Conservative or Green, to say, you know, you should be spending this. When I know the money isn't there sometimes.
Yeah.
But recently, there was a survey across the country about councils' climate change strategy.
Yeah.
Holton Council came bottom of that ranking.
Really?
With 0% score.
So why was that then? What was the...
Because they haven't got one.
You haven't even got a strategy?
There is no strategy for Holton Council.
But they live in... They're basically an industrial working class town.
And who is going to pay for climate change?
Us?
Yes, us.
Everyone, really?
Well, we say everyone, but primarily people who can't afford to go and live on that high ground or invest to protect themselves. Poorer people will suffer more from climate change. You know, it's absolutely critical that we do get involved.
Well, we're paying right now if you think about our reliance on fossil fuels and...
Well, absolutely, and you know, I see there's a lot of push almost to use Ukraine to sort of, you know, we talked about fracking, to push fracking again.
Yeah.
Now, as a country, we've decided we do not want fracking. All the MPs, many of whom are Conservative MPs, have got constituents that really do not want fracking. So, you know, my feeling is it's not going to restart. But there are those.
Well, we've gone off to Saudi Arabia. I think the last time I checked, he didn't get anything. I don't think, did he?
I'm sure we can buy anything from Saudi Arabia if we're willing to pay.
Yeah.
But you know, what sort of regime are we dealing with in Saudi Arabia?
It's the same difference. It's swapping one for another, isn't it?
Of course it is.
And like we said before, this is a golden opportunity to do things better, isn't it?
I think we, and I say that we as the UK, but also we as Halton, do need more control, more energy security.
Does that mean the what's the word I'm looking for now, Ian, when you sort of take back control from the government? What's it called now?
Oh God, I don't know. But I know what you mean.
Like devolution. So
yeah, I suppose
devolution
so, yeah.
down
it's
local.
It's about localising, you know, so as much as possible, and it's not completely, you can't completely do this, but as much as possible, can Holton be self-sufficient in energy? We talked about tidal. We've got tidal.
Of course we can. Mersey's bloody powerful as hell, isn't it?
We've got wind.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a bit of sun. So, you know, let's be honest, one thing that the council are doing, they have invested in solar and are using solar, and it does actually work. Even in the north of England, in the middle of winter.
Because solar's not just about the sun, it's about
light.
It just has to be there.
It's about light energy. You've got light energy, you can capture some of it.
Yeah.
So there's that side. The other side is we've got to stop wasting so much energy.
Well,
and
yeah.
that goes back to the building the houses and also transport.
Well, funny enough, because my wife was looking for a house, and the new builds in Sandymore don't have solar panels on them. I thought they would. I thought it was a standard now.
It could be. And in some council areas, it is. We've got that planning control. We're just not taking it.
Castlefields ones have got solar panels.
The council that could have a planning condition. You will do this. You will build, I mean, rather than grade C of energy efficiency, you can go to grade A or grade B. You can put local generation solar panels on there. I'm not forcing us to do that for a few £1,000 and you know, £5,000 maybe.
So I mean, we're back to Holton Borough Council again. Do you think that they don't have one is because they want people just to spend their money in town?
No, I don't think. I don't think that's the case. To me, my feeling is they've given up. It just feels like they've given up.
So they've gone.
What can we do? What can we do?
You know,
we government have stopped us doing this and this. We've got a massive Labour majority in Halton. No one's going to challenge us.
Complacency breeds that.
I think complacency is absolutely, and it does feel like they've just given up. It's like, and you know, when I was trying to speak to my 3 Labour councillors, it's like, finally, I'm happy to work with anyone. I don't really care which party that they come from.
Me neither.
Do we want to make this place better? If the answer to that's yes, I'll work with you. And that's all I'm interested in. I mean, I'm certainly not looking for world domination. I just want to make my better.
Well, this is the thing, because I love Runcorn, I love Halton, I love what it provides, I love what it has, but I always tend to believe that the people in charge don't see the borough the same way we do.
Well, I'm not from Runcorn. I moved here 9, maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
My partner is.
That's long enough. You're a Halton guy now.
But I have chosen to make this place my home. You know, my partner was born and bred in Holton Village, so I've sort of chosen to make this my home. But yes, we've got some problems. But they're not problems that can't be fixed. They're not problems we can't improve on. And I do like living here. It's in my home.
Yeah.
And that's all it needs is enough people who like living here, who want to make it better.
Yeah, well, this is what me and Richard always talk about. It's apathy in the local area always sets in for some reason. People always go, it's Runcorn.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to criticise one.
Yeah, and I don't know why, because we've got so much more than what most people do in Runcorn. And my YouTube channel is going to go into that this year and just go all out with showing what we've got. This castle, the bridge, the Mersey.
We're sitting in a pub inside a medieval castle.
I know.
I mean, where'd you get that?
Who else gets that? Withers doesn't have that. Screw you.
Finally something Withers hasn't got.
Because Withers gets everything, don't you? You got the B&M, not the B&M. Marks and Spencer. We got a castle.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Runcorn's got so much to scream about, and they don't. And I think it's apathy, and it's the same reason why people vote the same way.
Yeah, and well, they vote the same way. You say that, but I mean, you look at the turnout in local elections. It's tiny, absolutely tiny.
I was going to ask that because last time you stood, it was not long ago, was it? Was it
November.
November. And you got quite close, didn't you?
We did better than we thought we would do from a very, very short campaign, a standing start, and it has given us confidence that there's people actually want some change here.
Because you can actually see physical movement going on, like in the green spaces, and the crisis that we're going under now, and the national government saying we're going to renew fracking, and there's a lot of people who are going to be like, no, we're going to send a message at this local.
Yeah, and I think with the fracking argument, people are very, very conscious when they go and fill the car up and they see the costs.
So they leap.
Your home energy is going to shoot up in next month, and then again in the autumn. Those are real fears for a lot of people. There's hundreds and hundreds of pounds more, which some people just haven't got.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to be seduced by this. If we have fracking, or we drill for oil, or we start coal again, all this sort of it will solve all our problems. And it won't. It'll make our problems worse.
But it's about knowing the situation. I mean, even I was seduced by it because, to me, I thought, well, this will plug the gap. It's in our soil.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it's all about the problems we've made in the past. All successive governments, whether that's house building, whether that's infrastructure, whether that's decisions made by immigration, all these factors, it's all our own doing. From the way we vote,
absolutely,
from the way we government.
And it does feel hard to think you can change it. And I accept you think, well, if I vote for Labour or I vote for Conservative, it's all much the same. Now, sometimes that's overplayed, but broadly speaking, roughly speaking, they're going down that route. We'll carry on business as usual. It's very easy to criticise green politics. So you all vegans, you can have us living in the dark age. Also, no. What I want to see, and what the Green Party want to see, is people living in warm, dry, secure homes, able to get around their local communities safely, without having to spend £25 every single day just to have a car that actually sits idle 95% of the time.
Yeah.
But you still got to pay it. You still got to pay that money.
Yeah.
And that isn't. I mean, it feels like that's quite groundbreaking, but hang on, doesn't that make a lot of sense?
So, do you think that sets you apart from many political parties? Not saying the main two, but I don't know whoever else is standing in this local area. But do you think you've got a really good chance this time to sort of cut through?
I think we have, because two things. I think we did better than we expected to last time.
I was following it.
And what I've tried to do since then is, well, I've not been elected as a councillor, but still do the job. So I'm still out there helping people. I know I'm not elected, but I can still help people, and whether I've got council name or not. So, and that's what I try to do. And I have, and it feels great helping people. Suddenly, I'm stood there with a 91-year-old man, helping him navigate the housing association. Called him last week. Has it been sorted? Yes. That feels brilliant.
And that's without the position.
That's the payment I want. That's all I want. To think, I've made a difference there. And it's only a tiny little difference, but it's made a difference.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. And if we all make a little bit of a difference, we can turn this.
Is that the Green Party legacy, the motto behind the Green Party? Because it's the little things that we do.
I think the little things we do as a community, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it does need allying with if you like the big things, with the right decisions, the right policies, with particularly around, again repeat stuff, around transport and housing. Those two.
What in Isborough? That's the most important at the moment.
It is here, but we're nothing special like that. We many times. I mean, if you come outside London, you've got real transport issues in really quite big cities as well. Outside, I said I'm moved to Lincoln relatively recently. I grew up in Bradford. That is a big city. That city is bigger than Liverpool.
Yeah.
You can't get a train directly anywhere. You've got to go to Leeds. It's like, hang on, this is the fastest growing city.
Can I go from because I Northern trains.
There are train services, but you can't get to London. Train to Manchester, which is the next city, is once every hour. That's not how big cities work.
The Northern Powerhouse. The Northern Powerhouse?
The Northern Powerhouse is...
What the hell is that?
It's a great set of words. And it's something I think could be really, really powerful. And, we'd be very much part of that because we are on the M62 link. But at the moment, it just seems to be words.
Well, I campaigned for the Halton curve to be
the railway line since
the early 2000s, like the unlock runcorn campaign.
Absolutely.
It's followed that since the early 2000s. The Halton curve hasn't been the success I thought it would be. I thought it would be more services, more connections, and it just seems to be left to just one every full moon or whatever.
Well, I used to live by the main runcorn station. My kids live in Chester.
Oh really? Oh, so this links well, wasn't it?
That was going to be ideal. But again, it goes to accessibility, reliability, and cost.
Yeah, the same problem over and over again.
And we talk about we can't subsidise this, can't subsidise. We subsidise the roads.
Yeah.
We haven't. I know, and it seems strange saying this with fuel prices going through the roof, but fuel tax hasn't changed in 12 years. Everything else has changed, and but that's effectively subsidy for people that can afford cars. Yeah. Paid for by people that can't.
Yeah. Well,
because
people,
our public transport has been destroyed in that time.
It's again
but invest in public transport, really good public transport that people want to use, and the roads would get better.
Cleaner transport.
Absolutely clean transport. But the thing, it's in the interest of people who are going to carry on driving, because driving is horrible. You're in traffic jam after traffic jam.
But to get the money from it, you see, that's all it's about, isn't it? Same with the housing situation.
Yeah, I think that you've got lots of short-term decisions made. Is that developer going to pay us as a council more money for building these sort of houses? Yeah, right, done.
Yeah.
That's not what council should be about.
No.
It should be looking at how are we going to make this community better.
Yeah.
And that means all ages, even the ones under 18 who are going to become the ones that who can't afford the housing. These teenagers have no voice, but they're the ones going to be paying the price in 5 years' time, 10 years' time.
And it's about motivating them, and I think the Green Party does that really well. I think your party motivates
I think in general we do. I'll be honest. We want to, and really should be doing it a lot better here, because I don't think we have really connected as much as we should do. But that's certainly.
Well, that's sort of my job, because obviously YouTube is sort of, they're always on YouTube.
Well, yeah.
So it's all about getting them galvanised in that way. Yeah. But I think what are we on now? Oh, well, an hour, jeez.
Really? Good.
Yeah, that went quick, isn't it? I haven't covered everything I wanted to talk about. But Green Party, so opposition group, what's next for your plans for... Because obviously we've got a problem coming up with the planning office, Burrows Bridge area, Walford Farm, Sandymore South. What's next? What do we do?
Well, the one thing that does affect that area an awful lot is
So I'll be asking Richard about this more.
Is HyNet, which is the hydrogen pipeline. So it's coming from the oil refinery in Stanlow.
Yeah.
And they're going to generate hydrogen. It's what's called blue hydrogen. So it's generated with gas, with fossil fuels. And then there's a carbon capture system planned into the North Sea, which
into the North Sea.
Effectively into where they've extracted gas in the past.
Okay. Oh yeah, because it's a.
But there's a lot of uncertainty about how that will be happening. But that pipeline will feed the Ineos site, but it's also going to go north into St Helens to feed the Pilkington sites.
I think I know about this. Yeah.
So there's going to be a hydrogen pipeline that comes through Runcorn, most likely goes through Sandymore.
Yeah.
Still, the actual location is to be confirmed. But I'm certainly, the rough map that's been given shows that it's going to be somewhere in this region, which basically goes.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Sandymore, north, or possibly even the edges.
So along that route, can building take place on top of it, or does it need to be free for access?
I don't know. If I'm absolutely honest, my belief is it's going to be above surface, the pipeline. I might be wrong. I'm trying to get more information about it. But I've said, there is a sort of a very hazy map of its route, where it's going to go, and it is going to go across the river, across the Ship Canal, up to St Helens, Warrington, to feed some of the heavy energy users north of the river. That takes it through Runcorn, and almost certainly takes it through. I said we're not sure. It might be Sandymore.
They might be north to north. They might follow the route from the pylons, because the pylons is pretty much direct, isn't it?
Possibly. It's
still not practical.
It's still very much under consultation exactly which route it will take. So whether that impacts on the whole Castle Ward, north, Sandymore, I don't know. It might.
What doesn't?
It might impact on all three, but there's how the hydrogen is generated.
Yeah.
It's really, really questionable. I mean, you're generated by burning fossil fuels.
Yeah.
You might as well just pipe the gas.
Yeah.
When hydrogen burns, it's very, very clean. Get that. It does just generate water. So as a fuel, it's very good. With all these things, how do you generate it? But then you need to transport it as well. And
but through a town, it seems I don't know what the worst case scenario is for putting a pipe through a town, but I don't know.
You have gas, you have gas, natural gas pipelines over here, and that's again a flammable material. Clearly, you don't want those blowing up. Now, hydrogen is a much smaller molecule, so it's much transport systems. Pipelines are much more prone to leakage because these molecules can get out smaller gaps. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it's guaranteed to blow up. It almost certainly won't. Absolutely not.
Calm down.
No, I'm really don't want to scare them like that. That would be wrong and false. But this pipeline is going to go somewhere, and it's got to get through Runcorn somehow.
When are we going to know about this?
Well, there's it's not a formal consultation at the moment. There is consultation.
So it's
being run by the
HyNet
company. So there's no planning permission gone in yet for this, but it's coming, and I expect it to be, operational by 2029.
Right.
So
okay.
relatively soon we're going to start seeing.
But the thing
things.
is, these houses that are going in up everywhere. I mean, if you look at the map of Runcorn, every gap's being filled from where Norton crosses all the way up to
absolutely.
Daresbury.
Yeah.
Where the hell are they going to put it?
That's still to be decided, but you're right, it's going to have to squeeze in relatively close.
So
to
that's what I'm thinking, maybe the pylon to the Mersey and then, I don't know.
I'm trying to find out more. I don't think it's fixed, so it's not a case of doing some digging to find out where it's going to go yet, because I don't think it's been decided yet.
No, but you reminded me about it. I forgot about that.
But it's certainly going to go somewhere through East Runcorn.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
again, another problem to deal with, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And again, use of hydrogen power, I'm not against, but if you're generating the hydrogen by burning fossil fuels, what is the point? It just feels like sort of greenwashing. Just use the gas.
Yeah.
If you just be honest about it.
Well, this is the thing right now, is using gas until we get to a point. That's why I asked you to fracking, because we have to generate carbon emissions to get wind turbines made, to get things done
certainly
in the short term.
There's definitely embodied carbon in that big lump of concrete that's holding that turbine up, the steel that's used.
Exactly. But to move to a carbon net zero, is that unachievable now?
No, it's not.
With what's going on?
It's not at all. I think politically it's going to be more.
Well,
challenge.
who's gonna vote for it with the pocket?
Certainly there's this campaign that's appearing.
Is that the Farage one?
Yeah. And it's, net zero is going to cost you more. That seems like a very binary choice. Well, I'm not going to vote
Well, it's
for
that thing again, isn't it? Yes or no?
But what does net zero mean? It means stop wasting so much energy. Build properly.
But the British aren't known for that. The British are known for... We'll wait till later, do it later.
We'll wait till later and we'll plan about 6 months into the future.
People start moaning about it, and it's an emergency then, we should do it now. It's like with the floodplains, like you said before. We're going to build houses on a floodplain. People flood. Why is it flooding? Because you're on a floodplain?
Because if you go and buy one of those houses, even if you know it's on a floodplain, you've got a reasonable assumption it's been built properly to avoid being flooded. I'll be honest, I would not buy a house on a floodplain.
No, I wouldn't.
But if you know it got through planning, you'd feel like someone has taken responsibility and someone to check this out.
Well, look, Sandymore has got 2 relief pools that don't work.
Yeah.
They seem to be filling up a little bit, but it's still going down in the Keckwick.
One of the reasons they don't work is because we don't maintain them properly.
Yeah, well, they've got cameras going up apparently. But I asked the question...
Well, maintain the pools.
I asked the question to the Environment Agency at the Parish Council, and I said, look, COP26 had just happened at the time, and I asked them the question...
I was in the room when you said it, I remember.
Oh, you were there?
I was
So
there,
you don't have to explain it then, but I explained to them. I asked the question, what is your standing? What is your response to the fact that you're working against your own report? And he didn't answer the question. I felt like, shall I shout back and say, well, you haven't answered the question? And you don't want to be that, what's the word, of a nuisance to these people?
Yeah, I mean, in my previous role, I worked with the Environment Agency for many, many years. And,
so why do you go avoiding the question then, do you think?
Well, there's 2 points. And one, they're suffering like local authorities are suffering with massive budget cuts. And there is, I suspect there's a huge morale issue within the Environment Agency.
You could tell that actually with the Parish Council.
Yeah.
They're like,
But the stress, they think, oh God, I've got to go along here and try and defend what we're not doing.
It sounds pathetic.
It does, and it must be, to give them something. It must be awful knowing you've got to turn up there.
They felt defeated, and I looked at him and I was like, I was polite, but I thought I didn't get the answer I wanted.
No, and there are some very, very good people in the Environment Agency. And you don't join the Environment Agency if you don't care about the environment.
Well, you've got Environment Agency trying to implement a problem, or fix a problem that Homes England are pushing through, that the government have mandated and the council are enabling.
Well, absolutely. The guys on the ground in the Environment Agency know this is a disaster. Know it's going to go.
It's a future disaster.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a newspaper report a couple of days ago about a development in Chester, again on the floodplain.
Yeah, of course.
Which they're struggling to even start the building because it's flooded already.
Really?
And mentioned my kids are from Chester. So I used to live in Chester, and that site's even worse than Sandymore.
I can imagine because it's quite low.
It's very low, but it's also tidal as well.
Yeah.
And it's utter madness. But you know,
Still
hundreds and
doing it.
hundreds of houses will be built there.
Oh God.
And it's
Well, they're building in Warrington. Every patch of land's been built on, but I went past on a train. They're building right on the riverbank. It's called the Riverside.
yeah, and that sounds lovely in principle.
It's 400 grand houses.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Who doesn't want to look overlooking the river?
Well,
But until it starts flooding, coming towards you.
well, live in the bottom of the ocean, maybe.
You know, and I think that goes to this. Let's not carry on building wherever. Let's not carry on building for the profit of the next 12 months. You know, we need to be building homes and communities that last not 5 years, but decades.
I get the
Centuries.
impression though that where we are right now is that we're going to fill up the gap till the edge of the Mersey City region.
Yeah,
Become a city region in our
that's
own
the
right.
plan. That's the plan, certainly. For me.
And then we've got a border, and that's it. You know, and to me, Runcorn for me is a Cheshire town. It's a Cheshire built. And I know
No,
That's
it's the easiest way to wind my mother-in-law up is just to tell her that Runcorn's part of Liverpool, and she will just explode at you.
Well,
but it's in Cheshire.
What's your? I mean, because I know we talked briefly about the Liverpool City region,
Yeah.
and I know we're going to end soon because it's gone over. But do you believe it's a Cheshire town, or do you believe it's a Liverpool town?
It is a Cheshire town, of course it is.
But do you?
I mean,
is it too like?
I have to say, you know, personally, you know, am I really bothered which county it's in? I'm not, because you know, I didn't grow up here, and it just makes me smile when I hear people talk about it in that respect. But people's sense of place is really important. You know,
It is.
if you grew up in Runcorn, Cheshire, you're in Runcorn, Cheshire.
Yeah.
You're not in Liverpool. You're in Cheshire.
Well,
I really respect that of you. I mean, and sorry, it's a conversation, you know, we have at home sometimes, and
A conversation, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's great entertainment winding them up. So, but you know, joking aside, it does matter to a lot of people.
Well, look, we Runcorn was a town, and then it became a new town,
Yes.
and then a lot of people from Liverpool came over,
absolutely.
rubbed people up the wrong way, not on purpose, but the identity crisis in Runcorn is still going on, because we want to be a small town or a small borough, but we're being absorbed into the city.
Yeah, and I think this ever widening, let's be honest, it's been pushed from Manchester and Liverpool. You know, becomes this one city, and that's no good for anybody. You know, I said earlier, should we be integrated from a transport point of view with Liverpool? Absolutely.
I totally agree.
But that doesn't mean it needs to be governed by Liverpool.
But how do you separate the two?
Well,
There has to be a
yeah,
bureaucratic.
I mean, you've got this Liverpool City region, and which, you know, really does have this remit for these bigger, wider regional infrastructure projects. And you do have the local council, but I think what you see a lot of people really struggling with is how are we spending money on that when we're not spending money on that, and I had conversations with someone about the new gates on Town Park that are going on.
Oh, near the city.
Yeah. And the pavements around there will being upgraded so we can get to the community shop more easily.
Cycle path as well.
Yeah, cycle path as well.
Yeah.
But all that's being funded by Liverpool City Region, not by Holton Borough Council. So this Holton Borough Council wasting this money on when I can't get lit of it. Well, they're not. And it goes it's almost like this housing association council issue. Who's to blame? Who's responsible?
Well, no one is.
And it's lazy, and it's.
Well, this was what happened with the EU, because the EU, you're paying your membership to be part of the EU,
Well, yeah.
and then they're giving us all that money back.
Yeah, the
In grants.
EU funded projects,
EU and it worked, but people are sort of losing track of what that meant.
there is a huge lack of transparency there, and I think it would make it much clearer for people if they knew it was all coming out of that Halton Council pot. I think train services from Runcorn to Liverpool clearly needs an overview. Likewise, bus services, this sort of.
Well, definitely bus services.
But Liverpool City Region are the ones with the pot of money to upgrade a pavement and a crossing. absolutely need doing. It just makes it very difficult for the average person who doesn't want to sort of scroll through who's paid for this, who's doing all this sort of thing, to understand where, who do I hold to account here? And it's too hard for people.
This is why I keep saying it's by design. Because if you're confused by the situation, you just check out. You don't want to.
And it depends which mood I'm in. I'm really trying not to be cynical because it's not my mindset at all. But sometimes you think, you know what? It probably is the case. This probably is by design. And,
I'm a realist, right? I'm going to finish up now because we've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes. You're such an interesting person. But
thank you.
Well, stop it. But the thing is, right, I'm a realist and I'm practical, and I want to put my vote into someone who could do a proper change, who can look at the town. It needs a proper direction. They're never going to vote Tory in Halton.
I think that's highly unlikely.
It's very unlikely. I think it's better that I'll go out with friggin' Nicole Scherzinger. I think that's more likely.
Equally unlikely.
How dare you? I'm a catch. But
I mean,
you know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean.
So are you the opposite? Are you the alternative that we're looking for?
When I wasn't involved in this, who am I going to vote for? I wouldn't never have voted Conservative and wouldn't vote Conservative.
And why is that?
Because I don't believe that party are here to make this country better. I believe that party are here to make certain people in this country better.
Do you mean the elite?
Yeah. And I don't believe they've got any interest in social justice.
No. They just appease that.
They can talk about it. They can talk about the sort of one nation stuff. I don't believe any of it. So I voted in, I think, 2 elections in Holton Castle before I stood. And I was really struggling who to vote for.
Because, they've merged a little bit.
And I wasn't comfortable voting Labour because I thought, well, I've got 3 Labour councillors here, what's the point? So I didn't vote Labour. I voted Lib Dem first time.
Yeah, I voted for them in 2010 with Nick Clegg. Big mistake that was.
Yeah. And last year, she voted for there's an independent candidate who lives in the area. I voted for him.
What made you vote for him?
Because there's an awful lot of crossover in what he believes in, what I believe in that we want to make this place better.
So he stood as an independent based on his love of the area?
He lives locally and he wants to make the place better. I was interested in that. And I'm not trying to steal his clothes or anything, but that's my interest. I just want to make the place better. And apathy really does wind me. But I want, if I can't just sit here and say everything's rubbish and then do nothing.
This is the problem I had on my doorstep, because one of the arguments I had when canvassing for you was they're never going to get in, why are you bothering? It's like, well, you're voting, who are you voting for? And he went, Labour. I said,
that's fine, but don't sit and then complain about the count. But I think with the Green Party winning the election in Sandymore last year,
that was a great time.
It was, and I think what it tells people, there could be an alternative here.
Well, the thing with that victory was that Sandymore, big development area where people have just moved into, and they're voting for an opposite party that's provided that, and it felt like a massive U-turn.
Yeah, I mean, Sandymore's more than Darsby is a little bit different in that it was actually a Conservative area.
Yeah.
So it's the Conservatives that lost the seat to the Green Party, but it's that sort of. There's enough people around who actually want to change things, and we're not going to take over the council in May. Simple as. But it's small steps.
I was going to say, what do you want to achieve then? So you get elected.
Mm-hmm.
What's next? What happens then?
Right. Well, again, there's 2 areas I'm focused on. The main area I want to focus on is making it safer and easier for children to walk to school. So we've got 5 primary schools in Holton Castle.
5, really?
Yes, 5 of them.
I only know of one. My God, I'm so ignorant. So
Tell me, trust me, there are 5 primary
I
schools.
don't know. I didn't know there were that many.
But no one in this ward lives more than 10 minutes walk from their nearest primary school.
Right. So good
No.
for the transport.
Well, well, absolutely. So, but you look at you look at St Mary's, you look at Asmore, you look at the Brown, those 3 schools in particular, and the traffic and the parking issues at school drop-off pickups are really dreadful.
Yeah, it is.
They're putting the kids at risk, both from risk of accidents, but from the fumes that they're breathing in. Both the ones walking, but also the kids in the cars, who are in the cars because it's not safe to walk. And what it does to the local residents, going back to when, in November when it was a cancer, I was speaking to a guy who lives next to Asmore Primary, and he was at his wit's end because he knows he can't get his car out.
Yeah, because he gets
because
blocked.
it's just chaos.
So he has to plan his life around that idea.
And the straight answer is it's not long each day. So my absolute goal would be to introduce something called school streets. It's effectively 8:30 till 9 o'clock, and in the afternoon for half an hour, 45 minutes, you close the street, or you close the street to through traffic anyway. So that would really benefit, say, a school like St Mary's, which is on one of the main roads, through the village and then through to Castlefields.
Who'd manage that? Would the council manage that, or?
Well, it's a mix of council, the school itself, and the local police. The council need to put the traffic something order. Anyway.
Well, I know St Bert's have a similar system where, because they were having massive issues around St Bert's.
Well, of course they will. Yeah.
Because there's only one way and one way out. It's a terrible spot that is, but it's same difference. It's
but
that problem.
Probably the worst school for that in this area is the Brown.
Yes.
So you've got it sat in the Brown, and it's a bit of a rabbit warren. It's one way in, one way out, very narrow roads.
Because again, the population has grown.
Yeah.
The need has grown.
And those kids would walk to school if their parents thought it was safe for them to walk to school.
Yeah. I mean, I made the choice to spend a bit more on rent to make sure my kids went to Norton School up in St Bert's, because we could walk there.
Yeah.
I don't think Labour chime with anyone at the moment in Halton.
I think the local Labour Party.
I think they've lost connection.
Well, absolutely, and I've grown up, in Labour. My granddad stood as a Labour candidate decades ago. That's how I. But when it comes down to, they don't stand for me. Locally, they don't.
Well, locally or nationally, they seem to be a bit lost.
There's a bit of a sort of disconnect, and ultimately, again in the short term, I'd much rather see Keir Starmer as Prime Minister than I would Boris Johnson. But ideally, I'd like to see Green Party Prime Minister. But I think we might be a couple of years off that. So
you want people who have got conviction, who stand for something.
Yes.
I don't think Keir Starmer stands for anyone.
No, not particularly.
He stands there and is programmed. He's like got a USB in his skull.
I think he's very.
He doesn't really stand.
I don't know if professional's the right word, but very considered about.
And Boris, even though he's a bit of a buffoon, well, a bit is putting it lightly, at least he's got character. He's like, bah, 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 and people remember that.
Yeah, and I think it has been that's probably not.
It's worked for him.
But I don't think he's ever had any real interest in actually being
No,
Prime Minister.
No, but
the idea of being Prime Minister.
This is what the alternative's got to be, because Lib Dems have destroyed themselves. So who is next? And I think the Green Party represents.
Well, I think that your point about the Lib Dems. I mean, that their brand, if you like, was destroyed by this coalition of the Tories. I mean, ultimately, we're talking about a subject that ultimately is nothing to really to do with Holcastle.
No,
Holcastle is, I'm doing this for that reason. How am I going to make my area better? And I've got my views of what better means. It might be different to what you think is better, but the straight answer is, if we can make this area better and get that coalition of different people who all want it to be better, they all might think it's slightly different. But in general, we'll agree more than we disagree.
Yeah.
We can make a difference here.
Exactly.
And that's all I want to do. And yeah, I do believe in Green Party politics and policies, absolutely. And yeah, should we left the EU? I think it was an appalling decision, but it's done. So
exactly. So looking back,
but again, that's not going to affect what I try and do locally. I can still campaign for school streets, whether we're inside the EU or not.
Exactly.
I can still campaign for
the only reason why I
well-built
brought that
houses.
Is because the Lib Dem policy, Lib Dem approach, their PR was all about getting attention, whereas the Green Party is all about practicalities. It's all about moving forward.
Yeah, I think practicalities, there is that different.
And that's what you've got to strike a balance with, because the Labour Party not doing that anymore.
No, I think we are still, and I hope will always remain, quite a grassroots party. It's about what locally we can, we can do. Yeah, we have national policies, of course we do, and just look at the growth in councillors across the country. We're the only party growing because I think that works. People do buy into these people want to make their area better.
Yeah.
And I said I will disagree with other Green Party councillors about what better means.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Well, that's why I like it, because to me, I couldn't join a councillor. I couldn't be a political movement, because I've got an opinion that sort of doesn't go with the national line. And this is why I'm asking you about the national opinion, because it chimes so well with what we're dealing with locally, the housing crisis, energy crisis, everything that we're struggling with right now. It's going to affect you in the next year.
Of course it is.
So this is why I'm asking you the question in May. Let's say you're elected, what is your main priority? You've mentioned schools. School streets
is absolutely critical to me, and it does feed a little bit into the cost of living crisis, a little bit, because it does allow some people not to, potentially not to have a car. But in reality, it won't make a huge difference there. It'll help obesity. It helps people's learning. It keeps kids safe. But from a cost of living crisis, what can we do locally? It's enforce well-built housing and retrofit the existing housing we've got that is really not up to standard. I mean, at the moment there's a Green Homes grant. It's a national system, but it's been administered by Holton Council, and that's available for anyone with who owns the house with a household income of I think less than £30,000.
Yes.
To get funding for the likes of insulation, energy efficient boilers, and that's really important. I feel like I've publicised that more than Holton Council have. And it's but this is the basic thing that makes such a difference to people's lives. I remember when I was a kid growing up, I was frozen, I was hungry, I lived in shocking houses. Why are we still letting kids live in houses like that? When we have got it in our control. Locally, we've got that in our control.
This is what I like the Green Party for. Localised. What's the word I'm looking for? When you've got a connection to whoever represents you, you're accountable to that person.
Yeah.
You can go to them and say,
absolutely. What
can we do? If the wider that net goes, the less likely you're going to get any change.
And I think that's perhaps a risk for the Green Party itself. If it grows and becomes more successful and more widely supported, does it become divorced from those local moves?
Well, I think what's happening with Labour, they've gotten bigger and then they've sort of fractured between Labour, middle class and lower class.
I think there's that, but I think Labour are in this position where they're obviously fighting against the Conservatives.
Rock and a hard place.
But they're also very conscious that they need to be the opposition. So they'll obviously attack the Lib Dems, they'll attack Greens, even if they actually agree, because there's crossover.
You relate to more Labour than you would do, or Lib Dems even, than you would do Conservatives.
I would say so, yes.
So I'd hope that you could work with the council.
I would happily and will happily work with Labour, the Lib Dems. I'll happily work with Conservatives if they want to make the place better.
Yeah, well, same with me.
Because this isn't about party policies. This is about making Runcorn better.
Yes, same here.
That's it.
because I wanted to talk to everyone on this election. Only Labour and the Greens have replied.
Okay.
No one else has replied. So
I don't know if the other parties are standing because they're certainly from a Holton Council point of view. Sorry, Holton Castle point of view.
Holton Borough.
But Holton Borough. But yeah, I mean clearly Labour are the main party, but Lib Dems have got seats, the Conservatives have got seats. They're fighting, so you'd have thought they want to speak to people they're voting for.
I'm going to end this now because it's nearly an hour and.
That's a long time.
I wish I could talk so much to you. You've been an absolute pleasure to have.
It's good to see you, Steve.
And we will do it part 2, hopefully in your victory.
Hopefully.
I say hopefully you will be victorious.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Really good to see you again, Steve.
And if you want to know more about Iain, where can we go? Have you got a Facebook page?
I've got a Facebook page, so it's God, what is it?
I don't know.
But
He's got a Facebook page.
We've got a Facebook page. And I will. I'll let Steve know what the.
I'll put it on the description.
Yes, yeah. But certainly the copy of the latest newsletter on there.
Yes.
Some of the things we're focusing on.
And if you want to canvass for you, if you want to come out and
contact me either by Facebook or my contact details there, whether it's phone, Facebook, Messenger. You can get hold of me fairly easily, and more than happy to. I said, let's build a coalition of people who want to make the place better.
Yes, exactly.
That's all.
Like they've done in Daresbury, they've led the way over that way. Daresbury's handing more.
Absolutely. We've got a councillor in Halton, a Green councillor in Halton, who's worked really, really hard in the time he's been there, and that is a breath of fresh air compared to what was before.
He was. It opened my eyes to what Green Party can do.
And I hope to do exactly the same.
Well, thank you so much for meeting me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care now.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.